What if devotion isn't just symbolic? What if worship itself feeds something real, something growing beyond human senses? In history, belief has moved nations and started wars. But in Cult of the Lamb, belief feeds something else entirely. On this episode of the Astral Reliquary, we dive into the cosmic horror beneath Cult of the Lamb, and uncover what modern science reveals about the terrifying power of devotion. Humans have always formed cults, long before the term even existed. Anthropologists trace cult-like behavior back over 12,000 years to early tribal societies. And psychologists say the core reason is simple. Humans are social animals designed to survive together. One theory, called the terror management theory, suggests cults thrive because humans fear death. When confronted with mortality, we cling to leaders or belief systems that promise meaning, protection, and a path forward. In Cult of the Lamb, your followers join after trauma, being hunted, starving, or trapped by the bishops. It mirrors real-world patterns. Cults recruit most successfully during social upheaval, famine, personal loss, or crisis. Another factor is attachment theory. People raised without stable emotional bonds are more likely to follow charismatic leaders later in life. Leaders who act as protectors, caretakers, saviors. And that's exactly how the Lamb is framed, not as a tyrant, but as a protector. A tiny, harmless creature offering certainty in an uncertain world. When people participate in intense religious rituals, something remarkable happens in the brain. Research shows a drop in activity in the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for rational thought. At the same time, the brain releases endorphins, dopamine, and oxytocin, reinforcing trust and unity. In large groups, synchronized rituals, singing, chanting, dancing, trigger what neuroscientists call collective effervescence, a state where individual identity temporarily dissolves, and the group feels like a single organism. In Cult of the Lamb, rituals raise faith instantly because they simulate this exact neurological effect. Followers dance, chant, and praise the Lamb, and their brains reward them for belonging. But the most powerful ritual response comes from sacrifice. When people witness a sacrifice, real or symbolic, stress hormones spike and then drop sharply, creating emotional dependence. This is why authoritarian cults often use extreme rituals, to destabilize the mind, then rebuild it. In the game, sacrifice doesn't just impress followers. It empowers you, because in fiction, and in reality, rituals are engines of psychological transformation. In nature, there are creatures that manipulate others in ways that resemble supernatural control. For example, the cordyceps fungus infects insects and rewires their nervous systems, forcing them to climb to high places so the fungus can spread its spores. The parasite Toxoplasma gondii infects rats and removes their instinctive fear of cats. The rat becomes drawn to the smell of its predator, making it easier for the parasite to reach its next host. There's also Leucochloridium paradoxum, a worm that invades a snail's eye stalks, making them pulse like caterpillars. Birds eat the snail and the parasite spreads. The snail becomes a billboard for its own doom. In Cult of the Lamb, the one who waits behaves exactly like these parasites. It resurrects the lamb, but not out of kindness. It implants an idea, a mission, a compulsion. The red crown is a biological metaphor, a vector for influence, a control mechanism, a parasitic imprint guiding the lamb toward the goals of something much older and hungrier. In occult circles, an egregor is a being formed from the collective belief of many people. Not mythic, not symbolic, but an actual thought form that grows stronger as more minds worship it. Some psychologists argue that egregores are early descriptions of what we now call mimetic organisms, ideas that evolve, spread, and feed off human attention. In anthropology, the rise of a powerful deity often correlates with dramatic increases in population size, ritual frequency, and collective fear. In Cult of the Lamb, your followers' devotion literally fuels your growth. The shrine fills, the lamb powers up. Spells strengthen, buildings rise, and in the background, the one who waits grows too, fed by every prayer, every ritual, every moment of faith. Cults aren't just dangerous because they're manipulative. They're dangerous because they dissolve the individual. In cosmic horror, this is the ultimate fear, losing yourself to something infinite and indifferent. In real-world cults, Members often report feeling disconnected from their own thoughts, like they're watching their life from outside their body. This is called dissociative depersonalization, and it's frighteningly common. Cult of the Lamb visualizes this perfectly. Followers live, worship, work, and die for a cause they don't understand. They contribute everything, even their corpses, to a growing organism of belief, and just like in cosmic horror, the true power isn't in the rituals or the buildings. It's in the consumption of identity, the quiet erasure of the self beneath the smiling mask of devotion. In nature, deceptive innocence is a survival strategy. The orchid mantis attracts prey by looking like a harmless flower. The anglerfish uses a gentle lure to mask its monstrous jaws. In Cult of the lamb's cuteness is the perfect cover. Followers trust it. Players trust it. Even enemies underestimate it, which makes it the ideal vessel for an eldritch entity to work through. Innocence isn't a shield. It's bait. So what if Cult of the Lamb is more than a story about faith? What if it's a cosmic model for how ancient beings survive? Not through violence, but through devotion, not through domination, but through belief. This has been another episode of the Astral Reliquary. If you enjoyed this dive into the science, psychology, and cosmic horror behind Cult of the Lamb, be sure to subscribe for more episodes. And remember, some things don't need your body, just your belief.